Hi everybody, my name is Renee and I travel with my cat named Jake. This isn't my usual video. I am just giving you a kind of an uncut version of what happened and transpired in the last 5 or 6 days, but I had surgery done on my nose and I had a bit of a complication after about 3 days later, and this video is me 24 hours after I was released from the hospital after getting IV antibiotics to take care of the infection that ensued. And if any of you are interested in finding out more about van life and what it's about, this channel mainly is vlogs showing you what I do in a day, and it does show a few upgrades. I have some upgrades coming up. They were supposed to be posted already, but I haven't gotten to it, but you'll get them eventually. But I did build out my van, and I do explain a lot about how I've done that. Well, I did a whole segment without turning on the camera. No surprise. Even though this is in the city, or on the edge of the city, this little park, it still is away from the hustle and bustle of the city a little bit, so it does bring my mind to another state of relaxation, so that does help me. Being in the hospital this couple, well, I guess 24 hours ago, I spent overnight, and that was a wake-up call for me that okay, something's really bad's happening to my body. And when I went to go pick up my prescription at the pharmacist, she said, ma'am, she says, this medication isn't prescribed unless you're very ill, and I want you to know the importance of it. And I'm like, oh, they usually don't say that. But anyways, she said it's very important that you finish them and that you take care of yourself during the process of it. And so it's so strong. It has 2 different antibiotics, and the tests for bacteria infection, which means staph infection, has been sent off, and those lab results won't be back for another couple of days or so, the completion of them. So we will see what's going on. But a lot of my blood tests aren't showing to be good, so it is pointing in the direction of not good. So that's why they prescribed that medication. And also they prescribed that medication too because it is infection in my brain. Oh, I see something in the woods over there. Very strange. It looks like maybe some homeless people might be taking camp up in this area, which happens quite often. So there's a big basket there that I don't know if you can see if I can get it on camera. Got it. Anyways, there's a lot of homeless people in Kamloops, and it's sad to say, but they take up camp and they take wherever they can stay. They make shelter for themselves, and I'm sure it's that way in most cities, but Kamloops tends to be a high transient area. They seem to think it's problematic, but I think it's problematic all over the world. And I don't know the answers to all of that, but we surely need to change something in our system to help alleviate some of that. I mean, not all of it will be taken care of, but I'm sure a great majority of issues like that can be with different changes. So that's my feelings. They're mine alone. I don't ask you to believe in them, but anyways, yeah. This is so good. The sun is trying to peek out today. It is calling for sun, so it's early in the morning. I can see it's trying over there, far in the distance, to peek out, and it will eventually. My head feels as big as a football right now. Or feels like a ball that's going to explode. That's probably a better description for it. But yeah, I probably will do almost an uncut version of this video because I just don't have the energy to do any editing or anything, and I apologize for that. You're probably going to hear a lot of jibber jabber, but it's all good. The weather here is like mild for this time of year, and we're sitting at, I think, just above zero, like one degree. I don't know what that's for you guys in the States, but 1 degree here Celsius. And it's probably going to get up to 5 today, so it's going to be pretty nice. But look. There's my little home right there. I love my home. And maybe I'll tell you a story about my van, how I got it. I sold my main vehicle that I used to go to work and back, and I sold it for $5,000, and that $5,000 was to go towards my van. So I was in search of a van. Oh, I have a friend here. And a puppy. I don't know if you can see him. Anyways, came to greet me. And my van. Anyways, I sold my car for $5,000. And I thought, well, I hope I can get a van for $5,000. But it was at a time where the vans were pretty high, and I think they are still a little higher, but this van had been on the market for I think probably easily 4 months or more, and the guy who owned it had it exponentially high for the age it was and the mileage that was put on it. But I watched it for a while and watched it and thought, I think that might be the van for me, but I didn't know for sure if it was the van for me. It was way out of my budget that I wanted to spend on it. So I thought, well, you know, at least I'm going to try to do something. And I put an offer on it. I actually offered him half the amount of money that he had it on the marketplace for. And then also, he lived quite a ways away from me, and I think that was probably part of the reason why it didn't sell so fast, is because people would have to drive at least 4 or 5 hours to pick this thing up. So what I did to him, or what I propositioned to him, was I said, hey, can you meet me in Merritt? I'm in Kamloops, and meet me in Merritt. He lived in Princeton, so that was about halfway. And he went for it, and I offered him half the price. So I picked it up and without sight unseen and bought it. And I said, I hope that, is there any problems with it? No, I've done all the work. He says it's good. There's nothing wrong with it. And I said, well, I guess I have to take your word for it. But I bought it because I felt like this guy honestly took care of his vehicle. And when I had it checked out, the mechanic said it's been taken care of, well taken care of. So that was a confirmation for me. But there were a few things that needed to be done that I don't think were neglected. They just needed to be done. I bought new rotors and brake pads, front rotors and brake pads. So those were put in. The back ones were still in decent shape, so we just left them in. They'll probably have to be done in a couple of years, but they're fine, and we're on the road. And then I had to replace a strut, or front strut, my rotors and brakes, and what else did I have to do? I did an oil change, of course, right away, but the oil was decently looked after already, so he said he just changed it, and I said, okay, that's good. And the sticker, when I looked at the sticker for when it needed to be done next, was literally 100K, and I'm like, no, we don't go that long without changing our oil. And then I got some, it had winters on it, 2 brand new winters and 2 older winter tires. So I just bought a couple more winter tires to match up the new ones, so they're all new all the way around. And then I bought snow and mud tires as well, which are amazing. After I got all that done, I took my van in, and I wanted to have it mechanically sound before I even started on building the inside of it. I had a few spots that were questionable for metal and it rusting right through on the main box, so I had a welder cut it out and weld in a new piece for me, nice and sealed and done before I started putting on my subfloor. And for my subfloor, I just put basically 2x2s down, glued them down with tough as nails, hard foam insulation in between the 2x2s, and then I put a 1/2-inch plywood on top of that. That made it very, very nice. I don't think you need, I put my 2x2s really close together, so I figured I didn't need a 3/4 inch subfloor in there. So the 1/2-inch was perfectly fine. There's no give in it or anything like that. I wouldn't go less than 1/2 inch because you're going to get into movement in the floor then. So I always think a good foundation, the rest will be easy and you won't have any problems. And then from there I put in about a 1/2-inch sheet of plywood, and I cut it into strips 2 inches, 2.5 inches wide, and I just cut, and that I used for all the boning, like to, I guess framing is what you would call it, but I don't know what to call it in a van. In a boat you would call it boning, in a van you would call, or in a house you would call it joists, or you know, the studs in a house. So I placed them where I could. I couldn't do them every so many inches apart because it had to be attached to the side of my van. So it all depended on where I could attach it and where the original, like, I guess structural metal was, so that I could hook it to there and make sure that I didn't drill through the metal on the van. So I did that, and then I did my insulation, which was a mixture of just regular insulation in a house and foam insulation. I wouldn't say styrofoam, but foam insulation. And my ceiling has 2 inches of foam insulation on the ceiling. I wanted it to retain the heat a little bit longer, and that was my thinking, that the heat up top needed to be thicker, and the insulation on the floor was just, in places it's 1 inch, in some places it's a 1/2 inch, so there is some down there. Retains the heat very nicely, and I don't go through a lot of diesel to heat the back, which is nice. And then I just got, what I did for my walls was I bought paneling for carpentry, for cabinetry, I mean, and it is actually paneling for the doors, and it's probably about it's more than 1/4 inch thick. I don't know how to describe it. It's very, very thin paneling, and so it has a little bit of give. So that's what I used for my ceiling, and it worked so nicely. It's unfinished, so you can finish it the way you want, and you can make it look the way that you would like it to look. And it's very easy to work with. It's 2.5 inches wide, so it worked perfectly for my roof. I had a center beam right down the middle of my ceiling, and so that worked out perfectly for that. And it was very inexpensive for me to do my walls, and my ceiling came to about $100 in this price up in the prices in today's market. Thanks for taking along this far. If you've made it this far, congratulations. Anyways, I am on the mend, and I hope to have a proper video out soon. But until then, this is what you are probably going to get, but I will be back on track soon. For now, you guys have a good day. Go out there and be the best you, and make an impact on somebody's life today. Signing off, Renee and Jake.